If someone broke into your home, you'd grab your phone and tap three numbers. Within minutes, strangers in a marked car would roll up to deal with it for you. You've probably never once questioned that this is even an option. It just is. For about 300,000 years, it wasn't. There were no police. There was no court to take it to, and no jail to lock anyone in. If somebody robbed you, beat your brother, or killed him, nobody was coming. There was no number to call because there was nobody on the other end of it. So when someone wronged you, who actually delivered justice? The honest answer is darker and more logical than most people expect. Police are one of the youngest inventions we have. For almost all of human history, justice was something you handled yourself. And the first police force in history was your own family. The system was simple and brutal in its way. If someone hurt you, your relatives made sure he regretted it. If someone killed one of yours killed one of his. In a world with no written law, two things kept people in line: your reputation and everybody's quiet certainty that if they touched you, your kin would answer for it. You didn't need a courtroom. You needed brothers. It almost sounds fair. In practice, it turned the world into something far more dangerous. We love to picture early humans living in some calm, cooperative paradise, right up until civilization showed up and ruined everything. The evidence points somewhere a lot less comfortable. The psychologist Steven Pinker gathered this data in his book, The Better Angels of Our Nature, and the numbers are hard to look away from. In many societies with no central authority at all, the share of people who died at another person's hands was far higher than anything we see in the modern world, even if you fold in our wars. And a lot of that violence wasn't random. It was revenge. The anthropologist Napoleon Chagnon spent years living with the Yanomamo in the Amazon, and in his book, Yanomamo, he reported that a striking number of grown men had taken part in a killing, usually to settle a score for someone in their family. Now, I'll be straight with you. Chagnon's work is heavily disputed, and plenty of researchers think he overstated it. But the basic shape of the thing shows up again and again across the record. Where there's no police, payback becomes the law. And payback has one fatal flaw: it doesn't stop. This is the trap. You kill the man who killed your brother, and now, in your mind, you're even. But his brother isn't even at all. So he comes for you. Then yours come for him. The whole thing snowballs into what we call a blood feud, and it can run for generations, long after anyone alive can remember how it started. We have an unusually clear window into how this worked because one society wrote the whole thing down. Medieval Iceland had no king, no police, and barely any government, and its people left behind sagas stuffed with feuds. The legal scholar William Ian Miller studied them in his book Blood-Taking and Peacemaking, and what he describes is almost a complete justice system built out of revenge and the careful management of it. Killing followed rules. There were expectations about who owed what, a grim kind of bookkeeping that everyone understood. The catch was that the books never quite balanced. Every payment came due, and every debt invited another. So if revenge slowly devours everyone who uses it, how did any of our ancestors last long enough to become us? Because at some point, people got clever about breaking the cycle. The first trick was to put a price on a person. Instead of answering a death with a death, the injured family could demand payment. They took goods or cattle or silver, and in exchange, they gave up their right to come after you. Anglo-Saxon law actually wrote these prices out. In the laws of King Athelbert, set down around the year 600, nearly every part of the human body had a fixed cost. A finger was worth a certain amount, an eye more. A whole life had a set sum called the wergild, which translates roughly to the man price. It feels cold to slap a number on a brother, but that cold number is also the thing that kept two families from erasing each other. The second trick was to drag in someone neutral, a respected elder, an outsider, anybody both sides would actually listen to. And some groups turn this into something close to performance art. Among certain Inuit communities, two men with a grievance didn't fight. They held a song duel. Each one wrote clever, cutting songs about the other and performed them in front of the entire camp. And whoever the crowd laughed with the most was the winner. The anthropologist E. Adamson Hobel described these contests in his book, The Law of Primitive Man. Picture settling a months-long grudge with a rap battle judged by your neighbors, and you're not far off. It sounds a little ridiculous. It's also genuinely brilliant because at the end of it, nobody had to die. And then there was the last resort, reserved for the one person no payment and no song could fix. The repeat killer. The man who terrorized everyone and couldn't be talked down. The anthropologist Christopher Boehm, in his book Moral Origins, traced a pattern across small communities. When one person became a real danger to the whole group, the group handled it together. There was no chief giving the order and no trial. It was a quiet, shared decision that the man had to go, carried out by everyone at once, so that no single family wore the blame and no fresh feud could catch fire. So our ancestors actually pulled it off. They built justice with no police, no prisons, and not a single badge. And then something came along and took the whole thing out of their hands. That something was the state. As people packed into cities, the old personal justice turned into a headache for whoever was in charge. You can't run a kingdom where every insulted family is free to start a small war. So rulers did something radical. They claimed justice for themselves. The first written law codes, like the one carved for King Ur-Nammu more than 4,000 years ago, swapped your private revenge for public punishment handed down from the top. The crime now belonged to the king, not to the family it was done to. The sociologist Max Weber gave this its sharpest definition. In a lecture he delivered in 1919, later published as Politics as a Vocation, he argued that what truly defines a state is its monopoly on the legitimate use of force. And that one idea quietly rearranges the modern world. The police didn't show up to bring justice to a lawless world. They showed up to take justice away from you. The deal the state offered was simple. Hand over your right to get even, and we'll handle it for you. Revenge didn't disappear. It got nationalized. Which brings us back to your phone and those three little numbers. The fact that you can tap a screen and hand your worst moment to a stranger in a uniform is one of the strangest, newest arrangements our species has ever agreed to. For almost all of human history, it would have been unthinkable. Justice was personal and bloody, and above all, it was yours. And the old system never really left. You can feel it in the heat that rises when someone wrongs you and walks away clean. In the quiet satisfaction when a movie villain finally gets what's coming. In that one word, deserve, that your gut understands long before any court does. 300,000 years of settling the score yourself did not evaporate because somebody invented the squad car. You just learned to dial a number instead. And somewhere underneath that, the older judge is still sitting there, still keeping count.